1.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with Pancolitis. It is a severe case of ulcerative colitis where your whole colon is covered in ulcers. I was shocked, considering I had a very healthy diet. And then, everything changed. Today I can tell you one thing. Anything is possible. You can reverse this illness and live a healthy, happy life. Follow me for my story. Hi guys, lovely to have you back. Today we're going to talk about supplements that I have been taking during my just after flare and that I still take now. So my top supplement is emu oil, and this one is the one that I was taking. There's a lot of emu oils out there on the market. Just make sure it's 100% emu oil, that there is no e-numbers or additives added. And yeah, it has been great to take it. It has soothed my intestines really nicely. Another one that I really I'm happy that I have purchased and I still keep on taking is this lovely probiotic, Biotalt, and it really helped me. Again, there's loads of supplements, probiotics out there that you can choose from that will suit you. And also I use, in combination with the emu oil, fermented cod liver oil. And this one is great because it has a concentrated butter oil added, and it's just, again, lovely for the intestines. My emergency ones, I call them, are 2 supplements that I use where I potentially feel that I have had a lot of stress, or if I'm going to go away and not necessarily eat the foods that I am used to eating, and I've made a choice to eat the way I eat now for a reason. I never want to be ill again, and that works for me. But obviously I still have cheat days. I still go out and have foods that I shouldn't be consuming on a daily basis. But because I can eat them and not have any symptoms, and also by seeing what my colonoscopy pictures showed me, so for me that's very important, to be able to be free of those symptoms, and also have the freedom of choice. I know I'm not gonna ever go back into the same boat that I used to be. I used to be a health freak, eating extremely healthy, always 100%, with a lot of problems because that diet just was not working for me. And this is why I'm also mentioning that to you. Just because this healing protocol, I wouldn't call it a protocol because this is the way I've done it, worked for me, it doesn't mean that it's gonna work for everybody. And it's very important to always listen to your body and see how the body reacts on different things. You might find that, for example, eating certain foods don't irritate your intestines, and that you are coping with them completely different than I did. I know that me, by quitting the grains, I have gave myself, my body, my intestines a great rest. My body doesn't like grains, and I don't feel good after eating any grains, even if it's sourdough bread, even if it's organic, even if the grain is organic. I just don't function very well on carbohydrates. So my diet is low in carbs in general. I have a lot of fats, then a little bit of protein, and some steamed veg that I choose to eat. Occasionally some salads. Low in fruits. My favorite ones are wild blueberries that extremely helped me with my intestines, in combination with the charcoal, activated charcoal, which I'll just show you now. And this is activated charcoal, and it's made out of, let me just quickly check for you so that you know what I'm talking about. And I can't see it. Coconut shells. You see, this one is from coconut shells. I know that there are other charcoals out there to choose from, but this one is my favorite. I can see how everything just is calm after. Although, thank God, I didn't have to use anything since a very, very long time. Activated charcoal is also great for viruses if we are on that kind of subject. So it really helps with flu viruses and other viruses that are flying around. So if you feel like you are not feeling quite there, or you think you're gonna get a little bit of a cold or something, it's great to drink a few glasses of that activated charcoal. Tea or 1.5 teaspoon in a glass with water a few times per day until the bad symptoms go away. It's a magical food. What else I should say to you is, we spoke about the grains. I also found that nuts were not sitting with me quite well. Because obviously if you have a damaged digestive system, the guts can't really digest anything and they really properly need rest. So as I mentioned in my previous videos, I was doing loads of meat stocks, and this is what happened. I was eating meat stocks pretty much every day, even after stopping the flare. During the process of trying to stop the flare, it was mainly meat broths, and I had questions from you guys asking me if I was also eating that meat in the broth. Yes, so it wasn't just the bone broth itself. I wasn't putting bones into the water and boiling them. It was me putting, for example, a lamb joint into a big pot with some veg, low in fiber, and boiling boiling the broth on a very, very low heat so that the meat can fall apart nicely off the bone, and then you can just eat it. If you have a big pot, you can just save it and have it a few times per day. And because this is quite high in nutrients, because a lot of people ask me, oh gosh, that's not quite a lot of food. But if you are in a flare, I think what I felt was the best thing for me was to give my guts rest. I didn't think, oh, I have to eat this amount or that amount. I knew that the the meat stock will nourish me enough to calm my system down. And I was more worried when the blood will stop rather than if I'm eating enough or not, because as I said, it's a high nutrients dense food. Few days after, the blood was gone, moved out, the end of inflammation. I'm not saying that the inflammation itself stopped, that I wasn't, that my intestines were perfect inside or anything, overnight magically healed. No, nothing like that. What I'm trying to say is that I felt like I was able to move forward, so I didn't have to stay with those broths, only broths, throughout the whole process, yeah? So I continued, and I still have bone broths. If you keep them overnight in the fridge, you will find out how much of a gelatin is in that stock. And gelatin is extremely helpful to heal intestinal walls. The guts have to have time to rebuild themselves. You have to remember that the gut lining has microscopic hairs that stop the particle of foods going into your bloodstream. If you don't have those hairs, everything will go into, the toxic waste will go into your bloodstream, and this is how you get brain fog, this is how you get other immune problems, leaky guts, and it continues and continues. So it's extremely important to work on your intestinal wall. It is a long process. It's not going to happen overnight. You will have decreased symptoms. sometimes after a few days, but it doesn't mean it's healed, because if you started eating the same foods that harmed the intestines, it would pretty much come back straight away in a few days. So it's extremely important to give yourself a rest, complete rest. I also, just if you want to know, I started doing intermittent fasting. Not straight away. After a few months I was ready to start doing intermittent fasting, and to be honest with you, I eat 2 meals per day now. So I will eat something around 12 o'clock, and I will eat something around 6 o'clock, and I will be absolutely fine. And I'm not gonna think about foods, especially that I always look into what has the most nutrition. And it's not about the portion size, it's about how much nutrients you can fit on your plate without overflooding that plate with food. So also the amount of food really matters in this whole process. I wasn't restricting myself with the food. I felt like I was really hungry after that pancolitis. I think I was hungry for many years, if it makes sense what I'm saying. I just felt like my body wasn't absorbing any nutrients, which already gave me a sign that something is wrong. Number 2, I was suffering from panic attacks. I was going into crowded areas and I was not capable of functioning. It was a horrible feeling, and I had that for many years, and it really drained me physically, mentally. And I am such an outgoing person, and those panic attacks just were happening out of the blue, and I didn't even know when it was happening, in terms of like, I mean, I was in control of it, but I just wasn't sure when it's gonna happen. So it was extremely tiring, exhausting in fact. My hair was falling out terribly. Since 2013, my hair stopped growing, and it was shrinking and shrinking, breaking, and I didn't know what's happening. On top of that, I started having more and more grey hair, which really was a big sign as well, but I was just not very focused on that part of in my life. I was just ignoring all the symptoms, and I think it's sometimes you need to get really uncomfortable, and it applies to all the levels of your life, all the aspects, until you are ready to change something. And I continued to carry on the way I was carrying on until I felt extremely uncomfortable, and my trigger, well, my intestinal bleeding started when I've lost my parent, and completely it was like my whole system just stopped. And I think this was a wake-up call for me as well, that something wasn't right for a very long time, and it's time to change. But I believe that sometimes things happen for a reason, and I'm extremely happy that I have changed the way I eat. If you are interested in me recording what I eat in a day, maybe it will help you, or anything that you would be interested for me to record, because I don't know what might help people. I'm just telling you my story, and for me, I'm quite passionate about it, and I want people to know that they should not give up in the healing process, and that it's sometimes really difficult, and I almost gave up 10 or even more times during this whole process. But as I mentioned in my previous video, you will just learn as you go, and you will get your answers, what is good for you, what is not good for you. So let me know in the comments below, what would you like to know about everything. and then I can get back to you as soon as possible. Thank you.